This is,
I didn't print all that.
it's quite a bit.
Do you need a Chromebook to look in, Jennifer, or wait?
No, I have my phone. Yeah.
I'll be happy.
Doug sent me a text earlier. He's not wanting to sit here for the whole thing. If we can move to let talk about him a little quicker and try to get the people that are here. While they're here, then we can do the rest of it so they can be on their way. And they good with everybody.
Do me?
Very good.
Item number 1 for the agenda. Anybody got a problem or something that they see should be or want to put something else on here? Consent agenda. Read your minutes. If you find a problem for the next board meeting, you can bring that up. B. Preston, you want to, Coach Knowles, y'all want to speak on that? This will get y'all out of there pretty quick.
Yes, sir. Thank you. This is Preston Tomlinson. He played for me at Watertown. He just finished up his career at Maryville College. Played there a couple of years, and I'm wanting him to help me this year as my assistant coach, and I'm also wanting him to take over the middle school boys. That way, we're on the same page. So they're doing exactly in the middle school what I'm doing in the high school. That way, when they walk in as freshmen, they know exactly what we're doing. So there's no disconnect. I'm not losing time having to teach the same things over and over and over. And it just becomes a unified system rather than, wasting a lot more time than we need to be doing. So that's why I kind of want Preston to take over this for me and keep him on as long as possible.
I've been preaching that for 10 years. You're right on track, man. That's the way it should be. Matter of fact, that's the way every junior high team should be. Tied back to the head coach. Everybody's on the same page when they get there. They've saved you a lot of time too. You don't have to teach your system fundamentals. It just makes sense.
Yes, sir.
I did some research today. Nothing but good things.
On me?
On you, yeah.
Good to hear.
And not just from him. So, yeah, great things. You have a very good reputation.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good deal. Anybody else got any questions for him? I think that's one.
No, I've already asked all mine.
Now we have to, he already understands, right, the background check, all that has to be done there.
We've already done all that.
Okay.
So we've been taken care of and turned in. Yes, sir. Well, thank you guys.
Glad to have you, man.
Hey,
Well, to see you.
What is with you every year with the Cavs? I saw you one last year.
It's the same thing from last year. Just getting it.
I thought,
fixed
man, am I
finally.
seeing right? I saw you bogging on that.
I did the same thing.
It's always on Christmas.
Thank you.
Oh, I wish you
Thank
best,
God.
man.
Douglas, you want to go ahead?
And Mr. Chair,
Mr.
Mr. Pan, let me also tell you, you've got Mr. Ford.
Yeah.
On your Zoom. I just wanted to make you aware of that, and he's the next thing on the item too. So.
Okay, all right, we'll go ahead and get Mike in. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
I mean, that's all right. I just wanted you to be aware
I
that
was
he's
trying to
on.
clear out.
He wasn't on when I first looked at it, when we first started, but he is now,
Okay, this is concerning the drains at the high school.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike, you there?
Yes, I am.
Not Kathy. Oh, Kathy Bennett.
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, let's see. I think that I'll just start by giving a quick update. They're done with all of the roof installs. What they're working on right now is details on the high school. They've got all the wood blocking done. They're just working on install. They finished the install of the metal at Woodbury. So other than the canopy work, they're 100% with Woodbury, and they've fallen back over to the high school to work on the details there. And where this change order modification request came into play was two things. Just to bring everybody up to speed, when Smee Busby designed the project and bid it out, we bid it as a fixed contract with a contingency fund of 4%. So that contingency was for the unknowns. And so what happened in the process, we had 56,000, which was the 4%, 56,664. Well, the first contingency usage was after the maintenance staff took down the chimney. There was some damage to the roof, damage to the decking, damage to the gutters at Woodland. So that was the first request to use the contingency fund. That was number one. Then number 2 and number 3 were similar. What they found was there were a number of drain bowls themselves that were leaking in the process of the project. So it didn't have anything to do with the roof. It was the connection from the drain bowl to the drainage down below. And so the contingency number 2 request and contingency number 3, the number 2 was for the high school to put in 5 drain inserts that bypass that coupling ring. And so unfortunately for the contractor, but fortunately for the high school, they installed one of the drain inserts at the wrong location. And so the school actually has 6 drain inserts on the high school when we've only paid for 5. And then they had to do 1 over the office at Woodbury. So that was the first 3. And then there were issues at the canopy at Woodbury. And so the school system approved to do repairs and caulking on the canopy at Woodbury. So that was the 4 requests for the contingency funds to be used. And so that used, with those 4 allocated, we have left in the contingency fund $33,000. So just to bring you guys up to speed on that, that's left over. We don't believe that we're going to run into anything else on high school, Woodland, or Woodbury that would need to use the contingency funds. When the manufacturer of the roof system was walking the roof last month, they pointed out issues with the drain bowls and the issues that he's had some concerns over. And then recently we had a leak over Mr. Courtney's office. And when we investigated it, it was another drain bowl that was leaking and not the roof assembly. And so they proposed to put a new drain insert. And what we were looking at is, instead of doing just 1 at a time at $1,650 per drain insert, what we asked the contractor to look at is, if we did all of the drain inserts all at one time, what that cost would be. And so what we looked at is there's 46 remaining drains that have not been addressed at the high school. If they were to do that at $1,650, that comes to $75,900. But what we did is we asked the contractor to look at the value of scale in order to do all 46 at one time instead of 1 at a time. And they brought that number down to 1,150. And so that number comes to 52,900. And what we were looking at is, if we did that on a value of scale to do all 46 at one time, some of them may not leak in the next 5 years, some of them may. It's an unknown factor. And so, but if we do all 46, what that'll do is, if we use the remaining $33,000 of the contingency to knock all those out, we're going to be left with just over $19,000 to use as a true change order that would be over and above the original contract plus the contingency. And so I spoke with Gregor Smee of Smee Busby. I spoke with Freddie, and I think it's a good use of funds. Those aren't my funds. They're not my dollars. That's the reason I brought it to Freddie and said, what do you think? And he wanted to bring it before the session and the school board to say, is this a good use of funds? And do you guys want to move forward with that or not? And so that sort of brings you up to the reason that was submitted as an option for the school board to look at. So if you have any questions, feel free to fire away.
Are the old drains metal?
The drain bowl itself is metal. It's cast iron, and the plumbing below, most of it, I've not looked inside, but most of it is cast iron. And where we're getting the problem is where the drain bowl meets the drainage below, there's a rubberized coupling ring that connects those two. And the building is what? When was the school built? What, in late 70s?
78.
So, I mean, it's old, and that one component is getting some age. When we were designing the project, or when Smee Busby was designing the project, we were not having leaks at those locations, but there have been 5 of them, now 6 of them on the high school that have developed. We've addressed 6 of them on the high school. There's 1 still remaining over Courtney's office that's been caulked temporarily. That one will need to be done as part of this project. The question is, do we do all 46 at one time and just knock it all out and get basically we're saving $500 per drain insert to do it all at one time.
What do you think, Jared?
That's gonna save a lot of money. I know it's a lot at once, but
We
you're
still,
saving $23,000.
we still have quite a bit left over, or the county allotted for it. It's coming late on the budget, so.
I think it's a good thing. Them turncoats, like he said, you don't know, they may last 5 years and they last 5 months. And they'll start deteriorating some more like these are doing.
Yeah, the leakage fly will cost you $1,000 fix a leak every time, damage below and all that.
They selling tiles ain't cheap, I know that.
Everything else is looking good, Mike?
Everything is looking really good. Unfortunately, we've had a tremendous amount of rain this summer, as you guys know, which has put the contractor behind schedule. But overall, everything's looking really good. And we'll be back out there Tuesday of next week for another progress meeting. So I'll be able to update a little bit further on what timeline we think we're going to be able to be done. Oh, and to give you an update, the section on the back side of the high school that is not under this particular contract, it was under the same manufacturer that's being used on the entire high school. The manufacturer's inspectors walked that roof a couple of months ago with the contractor, and they found some lap seams starting to peel. And it's not creating a leak yet, but it's a long-term maintenance issue that we could see coming. And so the contractor proposed to the manufacturer, and as no additional cost to the school system, they're going to pay the contractor to come in and clean every lap seam on that roof and patch it back in. So that roof system will last quite a bit longer than it would have otherwise. So I was a little surprised that they actually paid to do the entire roof. So that was really, really good news. So that'll extend them being on project, but they won't do that until they're done with everything else.
Okay, thank you, Mike. Anybody got any questions for me? All right, appreciate it. Thank you.
Is that it?
That's it.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right, Douglas, you know which item you are?
Okay, it's under the budget amendments, which is
9.
9. See which one it is.
Baby.
I think it's BOE resolution 2021-3, I think.
And you get a 21-2 too.
Yes, that's it. I don't know what y'all know about what all's going on with Darlene and I. I don't want to get into a long discussion about it, but this 81 Act, when it first was voted in, Diane offered me the assistant job. And before I said yes, or even considered it, we went to White County and saw how they did the 81 Act. And so the way they did it, they did all the work in the central office and just sent it up to the finance office for payment. They did all the legwork, printed everything up. They just cut the checks and sent them back. So that's what we decided we'd do. And Diane was working toward that. She'd advertise for employees. And then Mr. Curtis gets a call one day that says, you can't do that. You've got to send them. And of course, the question was asked, well, if White County can do it, why can't Cannon County do it? And they said, it doesn't matter. That's White County and this is Cannon County. So you've got to send them. So we met with Diane and Mr. Curtis, and Darlene and I said, you know, at this stage in our lives, we just like to have the same salary and benefits that we get now. We won't ask for an increase. So that was what they put in their budget, and we thought that was the way it was going. But the county's insurance is the same plans that the board offers, but the county only pays $400 per month toward an employee's insurance. And the board pays 92% of an individual employee's insurance. So with this, Darlene and I would realize a cut in pay of about $21 or $200 during a year's time, making the same salary, but for the insurance, we'd be taking a cut in pay. We'd be getting that much less money. So this is what we're proposing, is what the increase in the amount given to the finance office would cover the difference in our insurance as if we were still working here at the board. And where that money can come from, we paid local government by their requirement for a whole year of software support, even though we knew we would be not using it for the whole year. And so that was paid out of last year's money. And so we're going to get a refund of probably double what we're needing here and that was more than funded. So that's what we're asking for. It's just to try to keep us in the same amount of money we're getting now, and we're not wanting more. We're just trying to keep what we've got. And of course, this is a increase and a line item in the budget where you take it from one category into another. So it's going to have to be passed for the board. The board passes it, and the county commission has to pass it. And if you look at these amendments, there's 2 pages on each one of them. The first page is where you approve it, and the second page is a resolution that the county commission approves. So you can see the dates are different. The county commission will meet November 5th. And of course, your meeting is Thursday night. So that's what we're asking for, and we would appreciate your consideration.
I think the 81 Act stated all employees dealing with financial problems will go to the financial management office, and all monies go with them.
Mhm.
So, Arlene, has anything you want to add to it?
No.
You good? Let me
No,
go this
except
stuff
I think they did tell Freddie that to work it out and that we could be grandfathered in with all of our benefits and our leave.
They did tell him that, to work it out.
To work it out, and we should be grandfathered in with all of our leave and our benefits.
Any y'all got any questions for Douglas?
But next year, there won't be the same scenario, right? There won't be a refund. Right? Next year, there won't be a refund to cover that. So it'll be there, it'll be land there next year to be paid.
But in another year, you'll be another year older and you'll qualify for a different thing. I'll talk to you later.
Okay. Oh, yeah, that's true.
I don't have to tell everything I know.
Yes,
Because I'm
next year
16
I'll be
days older than
Medicare.
him.
And Darlene's not too far behind.
Woman never tells her age.
That's right.
I'll tell you, I'm proud of it.
No, anybody got any more questions for Douglas? We're good, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. See you on Thursday night. Thank you.
Let's see. Stephanie, we can come back and cut those others. That's number C. Let's see, which item is Stephanie? Number 5. I'm sorry we're doing this out of order.
No, it's fine.
So it is, I have inherited a copier lease. I'm sorry, guys, I can't talk very well with a mask on. I have inherited a copier lease that expires April 21st. I have my master copy and I'm gonna.
Okay, I'll make
email
it.
him. Okay, I'll email him all the documents. I thought I made it, and I apologize. I did not.
No, I don't have any.
Yeah.
I'm a new copier.
So it expires April 21st of 2021. I have got it at least serviced to where it is making better copies now. However, when I started looking at the cost of what this machine we're incurring on a yearly basis, I was absolutely floored. So the top page, I've just summarized my research for you all. You're going to find 3 bids. One is from Canon, which has the state contract. The second is from Reach Technologies, which is who I currently have a lease with. It used to be MBM, located in Murfreesboro. The third is from Dex Imaging. The state contract with Canon is by far much cheaper. So just with the summary, looking at my current copier lease, I do still have 6 monthly payments of $160.62 left to be paid. The lease agreement will be paid in full on April 21st. Sorry, I typed it right there. Early termination fee, when I asked what I could pay to buy out my lease, they were going to assess an early termination fee of $317.80 if I terminated prior to March 21st, which is within 30 days of when it ends. And black and white copies are currently 0.0121 per copy. That doesn't seem like very much, but multiply that by 10,000 or so copies and you end up with a pretty hefty bill. Also, color copies are over 8 cents a copy, which is also astronomical. Part of this is just due to the age of the machine and technology that's outdated, and by replacing it, it's going to be much cheaper. So Canon by far has the better deal. He gave me 4 different quotes. I'm going to go ahead, I'm asking for you all to approve me to go with quote number 893. It is a color machine. It will print 60 pages per minute. It gives you the black and white copies per page, the color copies per page, and a fixed base monthly rate. I have estimated very high on the number of copies that my school will need at 15,000 monthly black and white copies. The reason I chose that was the highest 1 month total in the last fiscal year. That was also when we were printing paper packets. So I do not anticipate it going near the 15,000, especially with the curriculum materials that we have. Most things are provided for us. I have really weighed heavily on whether or not to even go back with a color copier. However, there are certain times that is needed. For example, if we were having our annual Harvest Festival, I would want to print my programs in color. We print year-end certificates in color, kindergarten, 8th grade programs for graduation as well. I plan to have that restricted so that it's not being utilized unless it's necessary. I do have a color printer in our building, but if I am correct, I believe it's over 11 years old, and it requires 4-toner cartridges at a cost of $300 per cartridge, so it's about $1,200 just to replace the ink in that printer. Wow. Yeah. So when I just did the price comparison, just the additional per month for a color copier, I'm looking at about $9 more. And so thinking about $9 over the course of a year, it's much cheaper than even contracting out to Kinko's or Staples or anything for any of the things that we were to need printed in color.
This is the same company, central office utilizes.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Centralized finance, state bid.
Yes. So I will go ahead.
See, everybody,
So you're
almost,
using,
almost every school was on a different,
we use Canyon.
you do,
The hospital, well, we, have been with them almost 5 years now.
okay.
So what I have
You were out
calculated,
of school with Canon until just recently, then, weren't you? Because I noticed everybody kept coming and coming, everybody was using a different company.
so even on a high estimate for the machine that I'm requesting to be able to enter into a 1-year lease, not a 4. It is a 1-year lease that is renewable at the end of that year for up to 4 years for the same contractual price. You can see what my yearly estimate is. However, in June, it should really be negligible, really and truly, other than just that fixed base. Even adding on what I owe for the remaining 6 months of that lease, I have estimated about 1/3 of the cost of what it cost last year, because I included that in the current copier lease summary of what was paid out from August 2019 to August 2020. It was over $6,300.
How did your Harvest Festival do?
Well, we haven't really had a harvest festival. We're doing some fundraisers, but we are going to have Kings and Queens, and it's probably going to be recorded and shared either via Zoom or some type of virtual DVD option. Our last tourney is next Thursday, but we are doing well so far. I mean, I have the funds to cover this for the year. And of course, it's a savings actually to the school.
Y'all do realize that that's the hardest part of the Harvest Festival.
Mhm.
Yeah.
We didn't until we had that meeting. And
We pay
you
for
were here.
phones, we pay for our
This is,
coffee.
This and telephones. Yes, yeah, we agreed. When we found out they had to pay for their own telephones.
It's bad. Anybody have more questions for?
I don't.
All right, thank you, Stephanie. All right, do we have any guests that need to, Lisa, you like to talk?
It doesn't matter, I'm gonna stick around. But you can go ahead, Tiffany.
We can go ahead and get you over there. I think you're on.
Oh, twice.
Yeah.
So first I have some surplus buses that they're currently parked at Mr. Boyd's garage, and I only have this one copy of them, and I'll be glad to pass them around. There's about 9 of them. And they've been at Boyd's, a long time, some of them. So buses can stay in use up to 18 years now, but some of those went out when you can only be in there for 16. So there's some older buses. They look pretty bad. But we do have some local farmers who've kind of contacted me and said they'd like to cut the chassis, cut them away from the chassis and use those for hay wagons. So I would like to do the bid process where they, like we did a bid, closed bid on those portables once before, when they just send in and bid on them. And just try to get rid of those. We can get them out of Boyd's way. And as you can see, we've pretty much taken everything off those buses that we can use. They're just kind of,
How big is that one?
that is a 21 passenger. So.
It's out, it can't be inserted.
And that's really bad about the little buses because they can only go 12 years no matter what. That's,
We could
that's a
king
state
buses
law.
for like,
Yeah, but you can't
Soccer
haul kids in them.
yeah.
Do they all run?
No,
No, I don't think so.
they're in pretty bad shape.
Okay.
So how long have they been up there without being used?
Oh,
That
long
one's been
time.
out of service for a long time.
Yeah. 9
And
years.
they can't
Are you
be,
saying
they
not-
can't be refurbished and got back into service?
There's nothing you can do with them except for cut them for hay wagons. And some people have actually contacted me about making motorhomes out of them. Of course, they can do that as well. Churches can buy them and make them, but these are really in pretty bad shape. And Boyd's pretty much stripped them. You can see that one doesn't even have a motor. So, I mean, we pull all the parts that we can off of them. So they're not in very good shape. But I'd like to just get rid of them, get them off his property. And then, like I said, there's some local folks who want some
bid
papers.
on it, or-
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what we'll do, make some envelopes and let people just send in their things. I'll get with Mr. Curtis if y'all approve us to be able to do this. I would like to do that. If that's okay with you guys.
Can't imagine what you do with all that money.
All that wood.
All that money.
Yeah.
Just on the hunt right there.
Be surprised if we get $100 a piece. for my billboard.
Yeah.
I don't know, because they'll have to be towed, and that's about $500. So, people
Probably
aren't gonna-
pay somebody.
Yeah.
yeah, so we're not,
Would we be better off to scrap them?
You still want to be able to go get it.
they're gonna have to come get them, so
Yeah.
you aren't gonna really make any. I'm trying not to
Be more.
make this,
Yeah.
I'm trying to make it cost.
That's why they've been there so long?
And we pulled all the parts off too, so. And then my second thing on here is the bus bid, and I had 2 bus bids come in. Those of you who don't know, back October of last year, I had a bus accident. I was driving for a driver that had left us on Friday night, and on Monday morning, I came and got the bus, did my walk around, everything was great. I left, and about the sale barn up here, my headlights went out, and I thought I would had dimmed them or turned them on bright because there was a car on the road. And it was a really foggy morning, and I turned them on, and they went out, and I thought, what have I done? You know, and I flipped them again, and my dash lights went out. So as I was turning, they come back on, and as I was turning on Center Hill Road, they went out again. I did pull over, kind of eased off the road. I couldn't see where I was going, but I did get off the road a little bit. And it was really, really dark, and it was really, really foggy. And I thought, somebody's gonna hit me. So I got them back on, and I thought, when I get to Short Mountain School, I'll stop. Well, they went out again, and the next time they went out, when they come on, I was at the end of Center Hill Road, and I ended up in a ditch. I landed on her dad's fence when I kept looking at her, and that bus totaled. They gave us $67,000 for it. It was because they totaled it because of a safety issue, not because it wasn't really worth it, because it would have been cheaper for them to fix it. And they just said safety things happen, and they didn't want to take that chance. So they totaled that bus, gave us a check for $67,000. That money went into reserves when we didn't use it at the end of the year. And the county commissioner, Mr. Curtis, has talked to them, and they're going to give us $30,000 to go along with that to get us a new bus this year, because as you've heard, that's out of my budget.
Mhm.
So this is something the commissioners is doing with their COVID money. They're gonna give us $30,000
Well,
plus.
you did not budget for any bus.
No, we did
For the
not.
last 10 years, we have to cut that out.
Yeah.
Like,
So, and what you guys don't know is in 2000, this count, which was before I was doing this, not before I was driving, but I remember when it happened. They bought 4 new buses. Well, they all go off at the same time. They leave at 4. So I'm trying to stay ahead of that. So when I lose 4, I'm not behind 4. So that's where I've been for many years, trying to catch up to that. So we don't do that. But anyway, they're going to pay that. So we did a bus bid. We had 2 bids come in, one for $87,591 from Central States, which is Bluebird, and then one for $99,200, but that included the seat belts. But I get a seat belt bid every year. I apply for the seat belt bid or the seat belt grant through the state. I am the only county getting that money. That's eventually going to be required, seat belts on school buses, and I'm trying for us not to pay it. So I get it every year. So I took that out. So hers came in at $89,200, a difference of $2,409. But because we're getting it from the commissioners, I think we're going to have to go with the lower bid. I do think that the Cumberland girl is going to be here Thursday night to try to talk y'all into letting it be her bus. I'm a Ford girl and I'm a Bluebird girl. That's just, I like a Bluebird bus. They just drive a little better to me. But you know, it is what it is. I don't care either way. I just don't know that the commissioners will go the extra $2,400.
neither one of these buses have that international motor, right?
No, they do not.
Okay.
I did buy one 3 years in a row about internationals that had a max force engine that are crap. We replaced 1 Ford motors and 1 Ford times at a cost of $25,000 each. The last time I put in I put in a,
Pretty hard on us.
yeah, last time I put in a Cummins engine. So that won't happen in that one. One has had to have one new engine. It was under warranty and we're babying it. And the other one has never had an engine different from that Max Force. I know, and we're babying that baby too. We just are special with those buses. So, but those motors are crappy, but no, it does not. They have the Cumberland. I mean, the Cummins and with an Allison transmission. But I'm afraid she's going to want me to make a recommendation. And I just think with the commissioners, we have to show them we're cutting every corner. I think even though it's $2,400, I don't think we can ask the commissioners to go over. But that's just my thoughts. She's going to give you a good spiel though.
You're partial to Bluebird and Southern International, correct?
It is. And I am. I mean, some of you guys may be a Chevy person. I mean, I won't hold it against you.
You're the one that drives them.
I know. Well, I like, the Internationals have a lot of room when you walk up. They're more open. They have the front engines on the front. Their turn ratio is not as good as a Bluebird because those are those snub nose. But a Thomas bus rattles. An International, to me, we had so many problems with windows dropping.
But the Bluebird is the cheapest.
Yes,
The one
it
that
is.
you want is the cheapest.
Yes.
Okay.
But even though she's going to say she can get it here faster than the Bluebird people can get it here, in the long run, it's $2,400. I don't know that the commissioner. I think in good faith, we're trying to make good stuff with them.
We're trying to get along with them and do
Yes.
good things.
So I think $2,400 is a big deal right now.
Mhm.
You want the one that's gonna last long, it's true.
Yeah.
Less trouble.
Well, you know how many potholes we get. It's bad. I would like to tell y'all I have a bus driver and assistant that have COVID that really need our prayers. My bus driver has been admitted to the hospital today. So y'all would keep her in your prayers. Is Karen Ashford. And then Donna Fan is my assistant and she has it as well and she has pneumonia. So
She does seem to be doing
she
okay.
is doing okay. They're just doing lots of breathing treatments and stuff, but I still feel bad for the
Yeah.
are really sick. But please keep Karen in your prayers because
She over here?
no, she's in Smithville.
Okay.
Her husband, Mr. Wade, which I think he's 83. He also has. I know. Right now she is at Smithville. Now I don't know if they're going to transport her. I talked to her earlier and she said they were talking about transporting her. Yeah. You don't have any other questions for me?
I will get them.
Anybody got any more questions, Shirley?
No.
Good luck, guys.
And good luck.
Good luck.
Thank you, Liz.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Assuming, Marcia, I keep you off, but you're gonna be here for the entire show, so,
So step
item
there.
number 7 is the, portable classrooms, and I'm betting that's what you're here for, right?
We have one day, about 2 weeks ago, well, I went blank, what his name is, but he has Stones River Recovery. They stopped by and wanting to look at our portables, and I didn't realize that it was really going to happen.
Mr. Barrett.
Yes, you know how you're
Jerry.
Jerry there. Thank you. Stopped by to ask to see our portables, and I was like, well, we have kids in them right now. You know, like we're still using them, all but one, and it is the one that has the mold in it. So I'm ready to get rid of that one. We do have to go through and get our stuff out. You know, probably everything's really not going to be much that we're going to need, but still we need to clean it out. So I would love to get rid of the one that's moldy. But the rest of them are in terrible condition, but we're still using them. We have to have, because when you came on and said he was going to be portables, I was thinking like, oh, we're getting new ones.
I don't think we have any at home, but I don't know about Short Mountain, but I don't think there's any.
Short Mountain has one, but
Yeah, but
I think they use it just for storage. and
Storage,
things,
yeah.
so.
I think Short Mountain does have one, but I think they are just using it
Yes.
as storage. We used to have,
Well, they sold that one, the one that has like, we have one that has 3 classrooms in it, and we use one end for a classroom, and then the other 2 are storage. So of course, we need to keep it because if we we're
What about
using it
the
for.
ramps and the digging and so on?
Oh, but it's terrible.
It's bad. It was bad when Angie was there, and that's been years.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It hasn't.
I know
been
West Side's got
replaced
some
since
too.
then. No. It's a wonder a kid.
I've sold some of theirs.
Yeah.
to Jerry.
It really hurt,
He does a really good
because
job.
it was falling apart. And that's been at least 5, 6 years.
Yes, the one that Angie was in is the one we're, it's one of the ones we're still using, but there's a tree that's growing right beside of the deck, and so it's like, the deck is like leaning up like this, like growing against the tree. So, yeah, they are in bad shape, but I mean, there's another entrance that we use around it so that nobody slips or, anything like that. So that's not the only entrance. But the one in the back is in the worst shape, and we don't have to have it for storage. We need to get rid of it, because I mean,
And
that's
that's the one,
mold.
does he
Yeah,
come and get them and move 'em?
that's what he said.
There you go. What's in
He's
that?
in Hollis
What's in
Creek,
that?
right?
Just like
Yeah.
like
Hollis
old
Creek.
desks that are
Out there in
broken,
Steel area.
Yes.
lots
grew
of
up on
things
Hollis
that
Creek. I thought
are
that's-
trash. But that we've held on to, just, because all that has to be, like, anything that's not broken has to be declared surplus, so. We'll make, as we go through and clean it out, we will make a list too, so that we can bring to you to declare surplus. So.
When is school sales, one of them, does that money go back to that school?
No.
Okay, I didn't know. That's what I was asking.
I mean, I guess we vote to give it back to them if you wanted to, but school didn't pay for the part.
Okay. I'm learning.
So it's if you're coming from like town towards our school, it's the very back one is the one I'm referring to, and it's the smallest one. But it's a match. Needs to go. And almost all the skirting is gone from around it, because every time a storm comes, it just takes a little bit more of it. So it's underneath is exposed and stuff, so.
Okay, anybody else have questions for Ms. Cossie?
No.
All right, Marcia, item number 4.
So I brought some more paper copies of the calendar if you need to look at them for
I
our
did print
discussion.
it off. I don't need one. You don't have one?
Okay. So I think we talked about this the other evening, and this has gone through the committee that is made up of the representatives from the CCEA with the regulations or guidance through our MOU. And then once it goes through them, then I present it to the principals. The principals did tweak it a couple of things. They wanted to move the spring parent-teacher conferences to the February dates that you see, because our new guidelines about retention and promotion have to happen on February 1st, and then parents have to be contacted within 15 days to notify them of our intent that we're considering retaining a student. So we wanted that to fall, that we could have that parent-teacher conference with them. And then I'm trying to think one other thing that y'all, do you remember, Angela, that y'all tweaked on here? I can't remember now. Parent-teacher conferences, and there was one other, oh, I know when it was, when to have the registration for the 8th grade and the kindergarten
Yes,
students.
because it was like falling on a Friday, or
Yeah,
not a Friday or
But
something.
yeah, something, so we just got their input at the school level, so.
It can be amended.
Yes, I'm surprised I haven't already had to come to you for this year's calendar, so then, then I went back to the, every time that we tweak it out of consideration to the CCEA and the MOU, respecting that agreement between the board and them, then I always send it back to them. So after the principals even put that, I sent it back to them, and no one had any questions or concerns or didn't want to do what the principals had suggested, so.
You're gonna love that fall break. 18th through the 2.
Did I put the wrong date
No,
on
you
there?
put 3 twos.
That's pretty doggone good.
Yeah, they're gonna like that.
Right?
Hey, okay.
Yay. Do you know how many sets of eyes see this, and you're the first person that told me that?
I look at so many things.
So this is Marcia's copy. I will get you a clean copy. Thank you for noticing.
Anybody got any more questions for Marcia on that?
Tell me again, how do we determine fall break?
That's actually the discretion of the committee to make a recommendation, but our school district, I guess even before I really started doing this, traditionally has done the third full week of October for fall break and the third full week of March for spring break. That way, when people have to start telling their places of employment even if we don't have an approved calendar, we can say, well, I can tell you 80%, traditionally it's here. Now, that doesn't mean it can't change, so. And then the other thing that we have on our calendar that can cause us a pause for concern is that we try to make it after, whether it's spring break or fall break, I can go ahead, after the 15th of the month, or as close to it as we can. Our entire payroll person is one. And so if we move it forward so that by the MOU that you have with the CCEA, if payday falls within a break, so let's just say this year, had we decided to have fall break next week, the 12th through the 16th, it would have meant payroll would have had to have gone out a week early on the 9th. And that has Shannon scrambling really to get it completed by then, to be able to get out by the 9th, because what we have to do is we have to shorten the month before, and then if we shorten the timesheets to come in early, that means people's pay that are paid hourly, their paycheck is cut shorter right before a break, and then they don't have money to spend on their break.
So this just works.
This is just a system we've fallen into that works, but that doesn't mean it can't be changed. And technically, the last ownership of the school calendar is with you. We can always take anything back to the calendar committee if you don't like something or want something tweaked. So, and then the other thing is, then if we have it like the first week before the 15th, once again, we have to cut getting all of our timesheets and all. So it just, like I said, it's a burden on our financial department, if you will, to have it to Shannon, our
Yeah,
one
it's-
person.
Some people, I know we've gone to Florida on the fall break before, and it's a roll of the dice. Last year at this time, probably don't remember, but the temperature last year at this time was still in the upper 90s. It was 98 here. That's what I'm talking about here.
Yeah.
But one year we went to Dolphin Island on fall break, and we had a tornado warning, and then the temperature dropped and it sleeted
Oh, goodness.
on fall
You
break.
picked a good place to go, because we've had that happen. Dolphin Island, we've
Yeah.
had great weather there.
Yeah.
That's our favorite place.
I love
And
it. I
then,
love it too. It's not
yeah,
fun.
then Rocoa.
They got hit bad by the last hurricane,
Again.
and they had just had one before we were there.
I think the most controversial thing I've seen was changing the graduation date.
Yes. Yes.
That got pretty heated, but it got, to me, the two biggest things out of it was it got the kids' graduation. They all have parties and everything instead of it being Memorial Day.
Yes, I agree. I think that was a great move.
It got them off the road at that point in time, and it also got the diplomas and everything set and their GPAs and everything set early so they could send them to college to get enrolled. early.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll tell you what a flip side of that is that we, ever since I can remember, had graduation. And the thing that I heard was families that would say, I love it that weekend. We get a 3-day weekend, we're traveling, we're able to come in and stay longer with our families to celebrate. But once again, you hear both sides, so.
It was putting off. Courtney came in here and got it along, and I didn't realize that the colleges were taking their applications and everything, and everyone from every other school system was getting in ahead of our kids. And they, classes would fill up, they didn't have a fighting chance. So that was pretty heated on that one, but anyway, that's the most controversial thing that I've seen.
How long's it been moved?
This
Three?
will, no,
This will
we've
be
only
the
done it,
second,
we've
third
only done
year
it
here?
twice. This will be the third year in our
Okay,
calendar.
Austin and Etta senior year since, the other ones had it.
Okay. All right, back to number 9, I guess. I think we've covered everything else. Budget amendment A. Martha, you know what that one covers?
I do not. We let Nicholas get away before we, let's see if I've got any notes in here.
He was pretty adamant. He sent me a text. He said he didn't want to sit here for this whole thing. It's
Oh,
too long.
well, we should have taken all of those down.
That work, can we do that next time?
Okay, so at the bottom of the first resolution, it does say, at the time that the budget was passed, the Safe Schools grant had not been awarded. That grant was $830 more than we budgeted. So that's why a portion of that grant needed to be expended in a different budget category than anticipated.
That's a no-brainer.
So that tells at the bottom. Then if you go to the next resolution, it was the bus that was totaled. That's the one that Lisa was telling you about. The risk management did pay the value.
I didn't finish my story that the previous driver never told me that he hit a deer the night on Friday night, and that's what caused those lights to go out. Never
Is that
told me.
person still one of your drivers?
No, ma'am.
Just so I know.
But I think Lisa talked to you about the seatbelt restraint grant that she always gets. So then having the money actually then from the commissioners will make up the difference and pay for a new bus. And then the last one was the one that Douglas did talk to you about.
Was their insurance?
Anybody got any questions about it?
Mhm.
You want to read these board policies, Marcia?
You know, all of them, or just the titles?
You guys can look over them and look in your books and stuff and see if there's any. That's just the thing, we need to review them every year, just to say that we've looked at them. If there's any changes or anything, any recommendations that you have to change anything, bring it up at the meeting.
Have you already gone over the transportation ones, Lisa, for this month? Do you need to look at those?
I'll look at them.
Okay.
Sure. I'll be making myself.
Thank you.
All right,
I think we've done it in the past.
number 11, if you need to say something, Lisa, about it, just come back to number 11. We've been sitting here a while.
No, you're fine, go ahead.
Number 11 is approve the vision, mission, and goal statement that we covered when Mr. Torres was here. Y'all happy with the way that went? Like the way things we did? You get to watch that. You did get to
I
watch
did,
all that.
and I turned my paperwork in.
Thank you, the preview.
Yes.
That's good. That's great. That saves you a trip to Nashville.
Yes.
All right. Anybody got any questions about that? That's good. All right, number 12.
We did that.
Got pretty much.
I just said we'd do it.
Yeah. I'm thinking I'm looking at you.
Yeah.
All right, that's good.
I need to make sure to put that in my calendar.
I was about to say.
Yeah, when is that date?
The 27th at 11 o'clock.
Okay, this is one that's a little bit interesting here. It's going to require signatures of everybody. Now, this is to request to the state, put this in layman's terms, that they do not cut the BEP funding because we're down
109, 110 kids from
110
it.
kids. And several other districts have already done this. I think Mr. Curtis used an example. Smith County? I think he told me.
Yeah, I think it's
Smith
Smith
County.
County.
That they had already done this and sent it in. I think this is a no-brainer too. That's a lot of money.
What's the chances of them doing that
I have no idea.
I think it's pretty great.
with the COVID? Okay.
It may be, but here's something else you gotta look at. The state's lost a lot of money fighting COVID too, and they're probably gonna look at cutting everything they can too. And that's about $825,000 they cut us.
Yeah.
If that happens. I'm gonna put my John, I don't care to sign it tonight, but anyway. Whew,
A lot of money.
it's a lot of money.
Something Freddie can bring them to the commissioner when she's here. Again.
Yeah,
Up here, where we did the, under that Preston Tomlinson, it says no bus trips right there?
Yeah.
Is that gonna include sports?
No, it's just your overnight trips that you
Okay.
have to approve. And
Okay.
we aren't, obviously from COVID.
Having for a while, so that this flattens up.
We used to have one here.
I do believe the next one is a request that, we don't have state standardized testing with our teachers or principals and teachers and members, everybody here is having, this distance learning is, a nightmare to say the least. And there, I don't think we ought to hold them accountable for that. I don't think you guys do either. I mean, it's just not right to hold a teacher. That's a no-brainer too. All right. Item number 14, save some of the better stuff for last.
I was gonna say, maybe we just need to finish everything else and go back to that.
Well, we don't have too much.
I know it.
Floor's open. Y'all take off. I know there's gonna be something said. Nothing?
What, it just says discuss regarding distant learning. And wasn't it discussed before that we were going to try to end it after fall break?
Yep.
Unless they had a medical condition.
Yep. they had to-
But it had, I think we're gonna have to be more specific on that. Cause we all know anybody can go to the doctor and get a note.
Well, I talked to Miss Tabitha Smith today about that, and she said if parents come and they want that, they're not gonna be, they don't wanna be held liable,
Right.
so.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too.
They don't wanna be held
The
liable.
HIPAA law may keep us from
That's
knowing what
exactly
their
what I thought.
condition is.
But if they went to school before and they've had that condition, then why?
Well, I think I've talked, I've talked to a lot of parents, Mr. Curtis and I both have, about students who do virtual learning. And probably across the county, there are probably 10 families, I wouldn't say there's any more than 10, maybe 12, and have real serious situations. Where there was one mother who's on bed rest with her high-risk pregnancy, and she's just like, I can't come get them. I can't let that come in my home. I just can't. I can't do that. Then there's one mother that was keeping her mother with hospice, and she's like, I don't need that here right now. So, but of those, of all the families we have, it's like probably maybe 10.
But how many are gonna try to use some other excuse?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you know what I'm saying, but of the real need that truly have.
So we're gonna put it where they have to come in front of the board to decide, or?
That'd be great.
I don't know how that works.
I don't know.
And I
Nobody's
just,
ever been through.
and I will tell you then you're gonna have that gap of time. If you say the board, let's just say, and you say whenever you give it, I'm just giving you some consideration things. So you are going to say that at Thursday night, that everybody's going to start back after fall break or whatever you want to say, but you're not meeting again until November, and you say it has to come to the board,
I'm sure.
then we've got an absenteeism problem for 2 weeks. And paperwork to be filled out, and Lisa to process that, and then Bonnie's out too, so we don't have her, all the influx of
Why don't we
true
see,
homeschool that might happen.
why don't we see what response we get on that? And then if they respond immediately next week, then you can kind of let it ride. And then when we meet again, we can re-entertain some of those. How about that? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Or you could just
Because
end
your
it
hands
in
are tied if you
Thanksgiving,
don't
or-
meet. But
Or really,
then,
there's just a few weeks between fall break and.
I think a legitimate medical reason though for the student or the parent
5, 6,
is
6 and
reason
a half
enough
weeks
to
to.
continue it for those.
Yeah.
We really need to enforce the same rules on those kids.
We don't need to lose any
with 110 gone, we don't need to lose a ton of kids because we said they had to come back.
True, but after talking to all the principals,
Oh, I agree. I
Yeah.
understand. That's why I said I think there's, and I've told them there's probably 10 in the whole.
the rest of them are
District.
just saying.
And
they
I think
wanna
you
do it.
have one that has one lung, but she said her kids.
Oh, they're all back, all laid up.
So I mean, some of them were just scared for that time period, but.
I think you're, this is a disaster. This is just my take on it. It's a disaster for our teachers. It's a disaster for our students. And I think it's I think, you said this about the woman who has the health issue. She sent them back. It's beginning to be a disaster for parents. They're wanting their kids to get back in. I think that, in my opinion, I think we need to say we're going back unless you have, it's a documented health issue, and then see what comes our way. With Miss Lisa saying it's 10, I don't think we're going to have a crazy amount of people making requests. I could be totally wrong, but I think we've got to make a stand. I think we got to make a stand for our teachers.
I agree with you.
I came on this board to be an advocate for children, and this virtual stuff is not the best thing for any child, in my opinion.
Well, I feel like they lost a year because
Mm-hmm.
children,
Based on that spreading too.
children, and even us, when you have to go back and review for those tests, you retain a lot of that knowledge right then and there. Oh, crap, I remember this, it's in here now, you pull it out of your grade matter, you can store it, it's there for the test. We didn't get that last year. And now we're almost doing it again. You're gonna have kids 2 years behind in school. And that's a tragedy. Especially whenever a TCAP comes back around and they do tests, I think we're gonna see, and it's understandable, a major, major, major drop. All right, that's some good thoughts, y'all. Got a little more time to think about it. It's about 2 days.
That was what I was kind of alluding to is maybe Freddie, if there is somebody, that he be the stopgap until we were able to see the cases. But he'll get a good feel about what they're saying. I think he's pretty discerning.
That's it. I think there's like maybe 10
Yeah,
that are
if
really.
we have a handful, that's no big deal.
I mean, that are really seriously got some issues.
If we had
And I
100
get
come
that.
in, that'd be different.
Right, but I mean, that's manageable.
How many do we have doing virtual?
I'm down to only having 11.
I mean, we're
That's
way
okay.
back down now,
36
guys.
to
We
11.
are way down. I can get you a
The
number by
walkthroughs at
Thursday
Westside,
night,
I only
but
have
we're
one
way
classroom that
down.
has virtual.
I would like to know how many first.
Is that, like Aletha just said, the parents are ready. They're ready to send it
And
back.
some of them are already
So
sending
we'll
them.
have to have our, like our
We take them
quarantine
back if they
students.
Yeah,
want to
you've
come
got to
back.
be able to do that,
Yeah.
so we'll have to keep something going for our quarantine.
Can't draw a line and say you have to be there.
Because
Right.
Miss Emily Hancock, she's on, but she had to send home a whole
Is Emily on there?
grade, yes.
Emily, how many do you have?
Yes, I'm here. I don't know if you can hear me or not. I'm in my car. Can you hear me?
How
We
many-
can.
Yeah. How many virtuals?
Okay, so,
Yeah.
well, actual virtual students, I have about 30, which is down from 50. I started out with 54, and we've had several come back. Once we got the word out that you're welcome to come back tomorrow, they were ready to come back. I do think I will have most of my virtuals come back if the board will just say, hey, we're stopping it, and they'll come back. I will have some that will do the medical form, but I'm like Lisa, I think there's probably about 10 in my building. And so that's a whole different ball game than starting out with 50. I have had to quarantine a classroom this week, and it was actually a first grade classroom. So we did paper packets with them, and the parents were much more excited and willing to do the paper packets than they were to do the virtual with that age group.
Yeah, that age group especially.
Yeah. And I think you will have to keep it somewhat open for like.
If that happens.
quarantine Class, yeah.
Do you have any more
Well, now we know how to do that. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? It's not.
I don't know who that Melissa Kay is.
Melissa Killian,
Yeah,
she's
okay.
from Woodbury.
Title teacher. in Woodbury.
Yeah, I think it needs to.
Are there any more principals on at all? No?
Nope.
All right, have anything to say to report, Marcia? That's all.
No, nobody
Yeah,
said
that's
anything.
understandable.
I'm working on the radios. I know that was one of the things she was doing with the grant. I talked to her briefly today, and that was one of the things she wanted me to
Y'all,
work on. Tell you
Did you
that.
get any
keep her in
updates?
mind now. They
Just said that.
that's a rough situation they're in. right now.
What's that?
It's
Bonnie.
nice.
Oh, yeah.
It's not.
How's Mr. Bush doing?
He's doing really, really well. He got to come home from the hospital last night, right? So,
He's
Great.
doing well.
yeah. Matter of fact, Jennifer said he fast, don't tell people I've got a heart attack. I'm not that sick.
Which is great.
He's a spunky guy. isn't he?
He is.
All right, Marcia, you got any
Yes.
comments?
Do I have 30 minutes?
No, you do
No.
not. It says
45?
three.
No.
I have no comments.
You guys have got quite a bit to think about here. I don't think there's anything really, really major. I think the drains at the high school you need to consider really well. I think the bus, I truly believe we need to put a stipulation on that, buying that bus if the county contributes part of their COVID money to us. And okay, if they do not, something comes up on that, we did not budget for a bus. So we're gonna have to find a place to move about 60,000 anyway.
Well, no, I still have
You
67,
do from the insurance money, so. that's-
And they're, how much do they offer to give?
30. So they're giving me enough to cover it.
So that's something to consider. Douglas's request,
You said those four. When did you say, when they gonna go offline?
About 2023. Just coming.
So Douglas's request is just this year, right? It's gonna have to come something every year, I guess.
Yeah, that's the way I read it.
Yeah.
Like we can, if we decide to do that, it'll be for this year.
or if you pass it this time,
But that's because we have the extra money, because
that's true.
Set
This
the
year,
precedent, though, it'll be harder, but
Yeah,
what I was alluding to is Douglas is going to pass an age where he's only gonna need supplement insurance, it's not gonna cost as much.
with Darlene.
Darlene, she's got a couple more years after that.
But when they retire and somebody else is rehired to those positions, we still gotta do this?
no,
No.
they'll be county employees, right?
We're just grandfathering those two.
That's their
employees.
salaries also? That we're paying part of that?
No, they're taking we're paying 104,000 a year for them.
That goes perpetual. I asked that question before. Huh?
Yes.
So we'll come out every
No matter
year.
who's sitting in that position.
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay.
That is correct.
Yeah, that's terrible. I hate to say that.
It is terrible. And well, I don't understand why White County.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know either, but it would have been a lot more than that. Freddie came up with a table and chart on what, I don't think he hired anybody back yet to fill those positions,
No.
because Douglas basically was the board secretary, and he's still doing that quite a bit. I mean, he's doing all this, and
Teresa's gonna get moved over to that eventually.
he, every time I had a question, and Freddie and Marcia wouldn't, oh, I'd come in, I talked to Douglas, and he was pretty much Freddie's secretary, on top of the financial part. So they did a table on that, kind of split it up on the jobs, how much they did outside of just financial stuff, and then we came up with that amount of money, and the commission agreed to it, so.
Douglas has been here, what, 2009, I think is when he was hired, so he knows the history of the budgets and what we've been through, so.
Y'all keep Miss Patterson in your mind, what they're going through right now. It's a rough situation, I feel for them.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys, that's it.
I will back up, and I won't make any comments, only that Mr. Curtis and I talked about this. We do a district leadership calendar, and that's sort of a more detailed list of, day-to-day activities of the month, and that the principals get that each month, and we share that with them. And I think Mr. Curtis and I talked about him going ahead and just sharing the whole Google share drive of all the district leadership meetings. That way you'll sort of know some of the things that we talk about at the principals meetings, and what sort of comes up. And we put documents in there too, so if I talk about Title IX, that document, if Bonnie talks about something, that document goes in there too. So sometimes it rises up to your level. Probably nothing you'd ever really need to know, but you just might be interested in what sort of kind of things happen at our district leadership.
We spoke about this, the Tuesday night that I was here. It would be really nice, I know that y'all did it one time, all the abbreviations that we use.
Oh, yes, you did ask about that.
If we
I'll
could,
write myself
if
up.
we could get that so that we would know, because I mean, I've been here a while now, which I'll rattle off some of them, and I don't have a clue what we're talking about. And then when you have to stop the meeting to ask what we're talking about, it's kind of embarrassing, but if you had that, because there's,
I have one at work for the military when I'm trying to explain it.
yeah, there may very well be 100. There's a lot.
I ran into that when I got online, did those podcasts, the election podcasts. And it was just coming across, I didn't have a clue what any of that stuff was. I even messaged the guys, they're like, I don't know any of that. That's to me, I'm wasting my time trying to say what I want. I know Derek's not here, but one last thing that I wanted to bring up is I talked to a few principals, I've talked to them, I haven't talked to this lady right here, but the ones I did talk to, they are more comfortable or felt like we would serve ourselves better if we went to their schools with our presentations. And what about our presentations? Are we going to do our presentations, or we're going to put something together? Are we going to come together and talk about it sometime?
I absolutely think that we need to. I think we deserve it to the community. I think a lot of them are misinformed on a lot of items that are going on in the situations that we're in. I was waiting on the financial management office to come up with some solid numbers, and I wanted to do this before I started harvest. I don't have a lot of time. And I will try to make as much of it as possible, but something's got to be done. We've got to bring the actual numbers to people. We've got to bring the actual situations. I don't think people realize how they, the school systems are buying their own copiers. They're buying their own, leasing their own.
No, they don't, because we didn't know.
It's not. And like I said before, it's an open book. If any of y'all have any questions, you can talk to Douglas, you can talk to Marcia, you can talk to Mr. Curtis. I can't find a waste of money, except for the fact that we're running 7 buildings.
I was on social media today, which I try not to get on that stuff very
I
often.
think I'm gonna cancel my accounts totally.
Well, I was just reading, I don't comment, I was just reading. And Corey Davenport did a really good job explaining the budget and said he has sat down and went through everything. And he said the same thing you did. He can't see where anything's wasted. We just don't have the money to keep running 7 buildings. And when people were, they were on the wheel tax sticker, these people were.
I mean, I understand no one wants to know
Against. Everybody is, because they don't know where our money's going. That's the thing, is they say they don't have any idea where it's going.
I think there could be a chance for the sales tax, but we really need to push that too, and we're
Just gotta
not.
educate people, like,
But
just-
the estimation on the wheel tax is about $20,000.
It's minimal.
It's not, I mean, you
It's-
can't hire one teacher.
I wouldn't even have cared if they didn't put that on there. This is the one that's important.
The
I don't
community
think-
needs us
I
to
don't
see
think
us.
people realize that the likelihood of 2 schools shutting down is highly possible.
That was one tonight. May as well say that was a school tonight.
That is, that's
100%.
exactly it.
It is.
That's a school.
800, what was it,
110
850
kids.
something?
You made that point the other night.
I think it was.
So on
Yeah,
top
but
of
you
all
said
of
110. Yeah.
Last year's budget, there's a lot of
We can't
scenarios
lose
that
that
people are
money.
not realizing. You're gonna have to rezone, and you're gonna have to close a couple buildings down, and you're gonna have to take those extra kids and put them in buildings that are already there.
They're already full.
You've got buildings that
They're not,
were built in 1956. They're full of asbestos. They are. They're full of mold where they've been leaking and everything else in the world. The infrastructure in Cannon County, it's crumbling. And this is a chance to help fix it. And if they don't want to fix it, then the consequences are gonna be worse than the.
So when I don't know what I'm allowed to talk about and what I'm not, so I'm just gonna ask.
You can talk about it here, you just get the
If we
decision.
close, you're sitting here, I'll say, if we close Woodland, what happens to that building?
We don't know yet. We don't know who it's deeded to
You
yet.
have to.
If it's deeded to us, it's our money. If it
I
goes
think
back, they
it's the
sell it.
The reason I'm asking is I had a phone call, of course, about Auburntown, saying that someone said that the land belonged to some family. They donated it for Auburntown to be built on. And if Auburntown ever gets sold or closed, it goes back to that family.
I think
I
that's
don't know,
right. I
you
think
have
I've
to look
heard
at
that.
the deed.
I don't know if that's fact.
The deed's gonna be the
I was just curious. I didn't know what.
I've heard that too. That Woodland was on was, I think, a family, didn't, there's something about that too.
What
Uh,
school would it?
Wasn't there?
A lot of it around back was given or sold to by, flip, I forgot.
I don't think it's in there about going back to the family, but. in my
Yeah, once you
opinion,
build a building on a piece of property, that kind of
Yes,
starts a whole new ballgame.
yes.
You can donate land to somebody, but if they build a building on it, you pretty much lost your rights right there. What are you gonna do? You can't fix it up and move it.
I think I've heard
But
that.
Freddie,
from
to answer your
others.
question, Freddie's looking to see if those deeds are actually in the school board's name and not the county. And technically, we're gonna, because legally we have to scope it out, but technically they could be sold, not reverted back to the county, sold by us and we would reap the money. If not, the county gets it and they have to do whatever they'll get the money.
So it depends on how it's deeded. And
How
he
it's
doesn't know-
deeded.
he doesn't know that.
And we
Yeah,
know what
so-
happened this old, the old school, the old, where the gym is. I mean,
Is that being used for anything?
No, it
But they put a new floor and a new roof on it.
that was
Well, that
insurance.
was insurance, years and years ago,
These bathrooms, these new bleachers,
but insurance. That's right.
Heating, cooling, and-
heating, cooling, I would've been a great place to play all the grammar school games. But Barbara told me outright, she wasn't gonna fix it.
I don't think she could afford. it.
She couldn't. I'm not saying that disparaging, but she just didn't have the money.
But does that building belong to the county?
No.
It belongs to you.
Okay.
Our
And we,
town board.
we've had people approach the board that wanted to.
Purchase it?
Mhm.
Can we not sell it?
You can declare it surplus
Okay.
Like I'm doing those buses.
and then literally have an auction, or you can declare it surplus and give it back to the county and let them,
Why would we do that though?
it's a way to get rid of it.
Well, I know, but if we give it back to them, then they get the money.
Well, wait, I think part of the deed covers, and you
They
might
also
have to
have
ask
to
Emily,
maintain it.
but you have, I think part of the deed has the,
Playground?
yes,
The
and
new school,
the,
parking
and the senior
lot or
citizens
something,
center.
Or you have to have it surveyed, cut it out.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mess.
It's just a deal.
And then, what could be built there is, right there next to your school and the senior citizens building and.
I tried to see, I laid it out. I tried to see how much acres there was from the senior citizens on the L shape going down that to right side. I don't think we can get a grammar school there myself. It'll be a funny looking contraption. And it's just barely the same amount of money that Woodbury Grammar said. Barely. So I don't see it feasible. Everybody's putting a school there.
What about in that lot beside it?
That belongs to the Hoovers. That's even less land.
If you had it together, though, you
Having together would be kind of a, I don't know how you would lay it out. It'd be an architectural.
Does the county, why do you know, say on well, truck drivers used to use it as that parking area
That
across
is
from.
ours, that's the school system.
Okay.
Across the road from Woodbury.
Woodbury Grammar
But
School.
it's just a piece of it.
That's just a
Well,
piece. I was just thinking if you extended parking there, but then you can't do any kind of building on the old parking where Emily's at, because I think that's where those wells are at, or the geo system.
I think it is.
I looked at the old fairgrounds. Now that's feasible. There's enough land there.
What about the land where the old Riviera Girl was, it's up above the school?
that's what we were talking.
It's just there.
That's what he's talking about.
It's not enough there really.
No, to do anything with.
Yeah, it's just barely 6 acres. You would think it was more, but it's not.
You could get the architect in here to look at it. and just see what they
Yeah.
could do. And then a community member gave
But the fairgrounds.
another novel idea. Our high school was built to contain over 750. At one time, we had 170 students, and about 750 students. We're down to 570 now. So, you know, if we remodeled our schools and needed a temporary till we got these places, you know, 8th grade, we should have room to put that there. An 8th grade wing, exactly.
Which wouldn't be a bad
I
idea.
don't think it that way. They would rotate classrooms and have access. I think one of your new mission statements was something about CTE, so you could include them in our existing CTE programs, and I didn't thought of that. And then you're only talking about moving pre-K 7 to the other buildings.
I mean, it's a good idea. Because listen,
I think,
We just need more, we need more think partners.
I think what the
Because there are
larger
some-
schools need to think about, though, I know the smaller schools are all upset and worried, but I think the larger schools need to be really concerned about what's gonna happen too, because they're gonna receive these kids from these smaller schools. I don't think they're realizing that, and it's gonna get crowded, and they're aging buildings, the septic systems are not great. The facilities are not great, especially in the older parts. It's gonna be taxing.
That's another
Do
reason
you
we're
have
trying to stay
any
in town,
contracts in your building?
because of the
I
sewer.
know Westside said they did that time.
We're already building out the country.
I think people might buy into if you have a transition plan in place. So if you were just sort of moving them, and that was just your 2 or 3 year plan, and then you had a building plan coming up to say this is next, I just think you need a, what's your plan? And I know the architect that you use, I know he's, you know, can help with that planning process. I've done that myself as the superintendent of schools, so.
Well, I think the same thing, you know, we can sit here and talk about this. This is not something that we want to do, because I think everybody here would love to see, if we were, money was falling from the sky, I think everybody would love to keep their small community schools open and everything. And I've said it before, I know where people are coming from, because if something bad were to happen to all the schools, I went to school at Eastside. It's right next to my house. I mean, it's right there. I want it to be the last. I understand. I truly do. I understand. I understand exactly where they're coming from, but we're doing something out of a necessity financially. And I've been screaming at the top of my lungs. Me and Marcia had this conversation earlier today. Our test scores are not good. Guys, we've been one for at least 12 years.
At the district level and the high school level, but our elementary schools, not so much. But
We're doing something where you can't make a 0. One's as low as
no,
you
that's
go.
right.
And we're not doing something right. We're doing a huge disservice to our kids. People just need to wake up and start looking at it. They are not prepared for college. I had 2 boys drop out of college.
I had one.
Yeah, and they're not ready for it. And yes, it's true. If you're really dedicated and you'll work hard enough, you can pull it out. But you ought to go to college being prepared.
Well, Eva's been on the phone with Lisa Show every night this week.
And our CTE program is, for what the money that we have, it's decent. I think about the only real thing that we're offering is nursing, and kids can receive a certificate right out of school.
But we're not offering that now. We don't have a teacher.
We're not. We can't pay for it. But you can have a CTE certificate in welding or HVAC or anything, and easily make $50,000 a year right out of high school.
We need to really look at what we're off, our CTE offers.
And
Yeah, we've got to boost
And
it.
we're
that
already,
would be great.
and we're
I
over what the
can't
BEP.
offer that.
Yeah, we're over what BEP
I don't have
takes
any
in for
funds to
that.
do it.
I mean, Ben put a chart up there showing salaries and the job availability was staggering. I mean, it was,
Oh, it's,
you can make, if you're ready, when you get out of high school, you can start out pretty good living and work your way up.
but we can't provide that. We can't even attempt to provide that.
No, unless we keep the same scenario we've been running for
All these
forever.
years. It's not gonna happen.
Yeah, I love Nathan's letter. Y'all need to read it in the paper.
We can't, and this
We
is a
wish
little,
us the best and sure it's really gonna be really great down the road.
this is a little different, but we can't even get kids from our high school to join the military. If we had ROTC at our high school, it would get them ready and let them know what the military has to offer.
We got one right now wants to go. She's scared to death.
You know, when you come to town and you're standing out there and you've got parents at every red light trying to collect money and stuff, just to send their kids on bus trips, to send their kids on these trips, to pay for uniforms, to pay for cleats, to pay for,
Yeah.
Wow. I don't know of another system that has to do all that. I know they fundraise, and I know that, a lot of them.
They do
spend
not
money on
fundraise
trips,
like
so-
this.
but
Not like we do.
They do not fundraise.
They don't
like
have
this.
to because they're using the BEP to full advantage. And we are not. It's simply that close. Like I said, Mr. Flores was here, when we explained the situation to him, he just sat down. You have one high school and 6 grammar schools. It was unfathomable, and he's second in command at the SBA.
Yep.
There's only one
Doesn't
other
make any
system in the
sense.
whole state that I know of that's doing that, and that's Grundy County right now. Everyone else has adopted and moved on and bettered themselves, and when you hit a financial crisis like we're in right now, it's not that big a deal. The BDP will fund your system instead of the taxpayers of Cannon County funding your system.
But remember, they're the elderly. But we're not, we're a retirement community.
Somehow we've got to communicate and find out how we're gonna, we've got more schools than weeks.
Mhm.
So I don't know how we're gonna do this, but
We did it once before when we presented the middle school. I was on that committee, Marshall was on that
How
committee.
long ago was that?
I've got all the notes still from
man,
that.
that's been a while.
It's been a while.
9 years?
We were, we had
maybe.
moved here, but we were very new to the community.
When we got to the little schools,
I know it was
Auburn
after I
Town,
got my degree.
at
finished,
Auburn, I
so-
was terrified I wasn't gonna make it back to my car. Because they were, I'm serious.
Oh,
They had signs up.
Oh, they
I just told Jamie about some phone calls I got.
They were very upset and angry. Of course, we were on the floor and they were above us, and it was just like, oh my God. I mean, we were just, it was just a forum just to answer questions. So I would say be prepared for that. But we did several a week, didn't we, Marcia? We did like 2.
I think I do remember that when the no middle school signs. were-
Yes.
I think there's actually still one over
There
all the
is,
town.
there is one still. But it got rough. I'm sure Mountain wasn't great either. I'm just
We
telling
just
you.
don't have to communicate and find what days are good.
And we have to communicate with the community. I think that's the issue they have is,
Oh, they came.
I'm sure.
That is what I have heard from parents and teachers and just other, and people that aren't even parents or have a dog in the fight as far as having kids, is they want to hear the truth and a united front about why we have to do this. And they're looking,
But none of them come to meetings either.
well,
But we don't come and
but we're not having them.
Right.
I think we've got to have them. And I think that we
Don't
have
bring
to
them out,
be, we have to be united. We have to be united. I'm not talking about just the ones around this table. I think that the people here that work at the Board of Education, the principals, the
Have to be one
teachers,
team.
we have to come united. And guys, I know we're gonna have scary things said, but I think we've got to stay calm. And there's gotta be some of us that stand up and say, no, this is going to be a calm conversation because we all are part of this. We're all part,
You
the
have to
whole
tell them the
community
good
is
things
part.
that are gonna
Yes.
come from it. Not just that we're getting rid of your little school, but the good
Mr.
things that
Nichols
are gonna
told me that he was working with some positives for the high school and what he could present, what he could use. I don't know how far he's got on it. But the thing of it is, a lot of people in Cannon County have a lot of good ideas. And a lot of people in Cannon County are truly dedicated to their kids. The only problem I have with them is I can't fund any of it.
Mhm.
But I would love to sit down at a table just like this once a month and have a discussion about how to better educate or what can we do for our kids. How can we get them that $50,000 a year job? How can we, get them that CTE certificate? How can we better our English wing? How can we better our mathematics wing? How can we help the sports program succeed? I can't do any of that. We sit down and have conversations about how we keep 7 buildings open.
Well, the answer to that, how do we provide these things, is it's going to be some changes that some of us don't really like to begin with. And it is not having seven buildings. It's letting our kids become united instead of being all these different things. We're Cannon County. You know, you see those, but you know, we've talked about the issue when they get to the high school, they're still different little communities. Maybe that's why they would have more pride in their school.
Exactly.
When we talk about that, engaged in excellence every way and every day, that's where it starts with. Every way.
I was sitting right here and you were sitting right there and you asked me for some of us that selfish, not to provide, and we are. We haven't realized what we're doing to our kids.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily I'm selfish because I just want my school. They think that that particular school is better for their kids.
Right.
And it's not,
It's
because we're
not.
not being able to provide what the kid needs to fully succeed in life. We're not getting close.
Right.
But I've known that for about 3 years. And first year I didn't, I kept thinking, well, I can come in here, I can fix this, I can do this, I can do that, I can do that. I can't. The way we're currently structured, there's hands are tied. The norm that we have right now is as good as it's going to get if we stay the way we are. I used to fuss at Marcia. I'm still fussing at Marcia because I want the old
I fuss back.
She does. I can't hold her to the fire all the time and expect her to get 7 people to do the exact same thing. I just can't. They're not going to. I'll still fuss at her because I want her to try.
To agree on progress.
She
reports
can't
and
do
report
that.
card.
If she drove to every school every day to make sure everything was being done the way it should, she wouldn't get all 7 schools covered in one day. Couldn't do it. You spend all year doing it. She wouldn't get anything else done. She can't
Half a
do
day
it.
at one school today, going in K through 5 classrooms. I'll be at Woodland on
All day.
Thursday.
Yes.
And
You
East
have
Side
that
on
big
Friday.
Grammar school sitting here.
Yep.
With your K through, however we want to do K through 5. You've got all your grammar school kids in one place. You've got everyone doing the same curriculum. You've got everyone with the same discipline. You've got everything the same. Pick them up and put them in the middle school. You do everybody the same. And then you go to high school. And if you have, out of those 3 schools, if you have a failing school system, you have one person you got to go to.
That's just like Jason knows with basketball, like he just said.
Yes.
He wanted the middle school basketball to be doing what the high school's doing, so he just have to reteach it, and they already know.
It's the same concept.
Yes.
We talked about this years ago when Jackson was in little football. And they started talking about the success in Trousdale County in football. And why is that?
Same thing.
It's the same thing. They teach the same place at all the different levels.
The high school
You have
principal,
to, it's the same thing.
Same way.
Yep.
go
Same
to
concept.
NC Tech, go to NTSU, go to Motlow and look them dead in the eye and go, what do you need from my kids? And he should be, or she should be, able to give them exactly what they need. And then he goes to that middle school principal. They've got to be doing this in college. I need them to be able to do this in high school.
Absolutely.
And right then and there, you've got
Yep.
2 people in communication. And then that middle school principal should go to their grammar school principal and say, guys, they've got to be able to do this all day long, every day. And what we're doing right now, I mean, I like every single principal I have, but every principal has a different way of doing things. And they do. They're different people. And 7 of them, it's hard to get everybody in line. And it's not just the principal, it's the community, it's everything. It's a lot of stuff. So we're too big, we're too spread out, and it's too expensive to do what we're doing. DeKalb County has more industry. And I'm not making just a comparison with DeKalb County, it's every county around. They have more industry, they have more people, and they have a huge, huge tax base. They have 5 schools. And we're half the size, half the tax revenue, if that. And we've got 7. Guys, you just can't do it and do it right. That's just the way it is. Just can't do it. I'd like to. We figured out a way to generate money and just fall out of the sky. We probably help us some.
Even if we had the money to do it, we're still not doing our kids justice by keeping them.
Yeah. If we had the money to do it, we're not doing right by our kids. We're satisfying.
We're basically
Whatever I want.
wasting money, what we'd be doing.
I want,
You're right. Both of you are right. You're right. I hadn't talked to Neil, but I sat down there on the couch and I penciled and I figured and I did, and I brainstormed and I did everything and I carried it for a while. But you guys can carry it for a while.
Oh, we looked at that budget that they gave us.
I don't know what Neil, I don't know exactly what he's come up with. I don't know if it will exactly work, but I think it will. I think it will. It's $35 a year more than what we're currently paying per vehicle to fix the infrastructure in Cannon County. I think it'll go a long, long way.
If it passes.
Well, I don't think it will, but
We've got less than a month to be communicating this.
Exactly.
Early
It's on
voting
their
starts
heels.
right
That's what I'm
now.
trying to say.
When is early voting start?
Early voting.
14th.
14th, next Thursday, right?
It's here.
Wednesday.
And they'll be
Wednesday.
voting that day.
They'll be people will be lined up to vote that day, so.
And if
But
you don't get it
it's
early
not,
voting,
I think a lot of people are still thinking that they're voting on, gee, do I want to centralize and am I voting to close my school by voting yes for this? And they've got to realize that most likely
Don't have anywhere.
there's a couple of them close anyway. We just keep doing what we're doing. And you can have something good out here for your kids to go to if you do that. If not, you're gonna close some buildings and then what, 56, 62 and 3, you're gonna take them out of those buildings and you're still putting them in old buildings that are covered up in asbestos and mold and everything else. You know, I hear about the jail and stuff a lot. I don't think anybody ever talks about our kids. Every time we do a repair at school, you have to call specialists in so that and it costs no telling what. I forget what the last one, what West Side did. We had to dig up a pipe that stopped up. Whole floor is asbestos. They gotta cut all that out, move it all out, put it all out, and do something with it and clean it all up, and you put your kids right back in there. There you go. All right, you make anything else? Jennifer, you're a soldier. You're so strategy.
We don't vote on things. We just tell them what's gonna happen.
Yeah, but your funding is voted on.
It is, but they give us the money and then we decide how to spend it. We don't have to, it doesn't have to be voted on how we spend it once it's given to us.
Melissa,
So that's different.
you're pretty articulate. I asked you that before. You need to write something good, put in paper.
Gotta
We're
go
here
over
for
there
such a time
by
as this.
Friday.
Friday, it needs to be there
By Friday.
Friday by noon, I think, in order to make it to the Monday paper.
Oh, wait,
Make it
so-
now,
so you-
Thursday.
But I believe
When
I
it would be late Thursday.
I can't remember, Freddie can help you with
Yeah,
that.
late.
He's always fussed at for not doing that.
And they don't do it late.
they get kind of grumpy with you if you don't get it down.
I'll have to pay for
Are you ready to end the meeting?
it. Yes. I'm
Okay, Brian's over there.
I may have to ask you questions, because I might be articulate, but you're a better.
Bye, guys.
Bye, good night.
So if I may need